Hi, it's Shannon. This is a continuation of my hoarder series. Today I'm going to talk to you about my makeup and how I work through and balance out my makeup and keep from buying entirely too much. And this has the potential to be a longer video, so I'm just going to warn you now. So I'm going to try to get through everything and tell you everything about it, but I'm going to try to do it as quickly as I can. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I'm not showing you all of my makeup that I own today. This isn't like a storage video. This is just to explain to you how I use it in a way that's responsible and that makes sure that I'm going through it and that I'm not buying more than I can handle. So I'm not going to show you how I store it, but I am going to show you kind of in general how I go through it. So I keep the majority of what I use regularly in my makeup case, which I've shown you guys before. Now I do have a kit that I use obviously for jobs, for photo shoots or weddings and those sorts of things, makeovers. And I also have my own kind of personal storage where I keep eyeshadows. I do have full range of eyeshadow colors, and same thing with lipsticks. I do have plenty of variety of different colors and kinds and textures and that sort of thing. But I still keep a kind of a batch that is sort of my focus point in my makeup case, all the time, and that helps me to remember that I need to be using it up. So I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can, and if I miss anything or if I explain something too quickly that you have questions about, please ask me later on. I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, so to start off, the first thing I put on obviously is my color correctors. So let me show you what I keep here in my bag. You guys will remember these from a recent haul video. I keep all three of these in my bag. And I also have this one. This is an Avon color corrector. You can see it on the side. Okay, so these are obviously my Fancy Day color correctors that I've been using. And I keep color correctors are something I don't have a ton of. I think I have one more aside from the ones that you see here. Yeah, I think I only have one more. And so basically what I do is, this is the one that I've had the longest. This is one by Avon. And you can see that this was a concealer and color corrector duo, and at the time when I was using the concealer, I had another color corrector that I was using, so that's why I just have the color corrector left and the concealer is gone. So this is my oldest product, so this is my Lazy Day product. So I use this every other day. My makeup regimen is an every other day regimen, so I use this every other day. I can use it every day if I want to, but if I want to play around with my new stuff, I can. I just have to use this every other day, so I do that on my Lazy Day. Then on my Fancy Day, if I want to use my Lazy Day product, I can, but it's not okay for me to buy all this stuff and then just store it away in a drawer and not use it. I need to be using it, so I'm keeping it in my makeup bag, and basically what I do is on my Fancy Day, I play around with them. Sometimes I'll use this one, sometimes I'll use this one, sometimes I'll use this one, sometimes I mix them together. You get the idea. But anyway, so I keep these in my bag, and I play around with these on my Fancy Day. I use my other one on my Lazy Day. Okay, next is foundation. Foundation and concealer is not something that I do a Fancy Day, Lazy Day routine on. I match my foundation and my concealer to my skin tone at the time. So basically what I do is I have maybe 5 or 6 foundations and maybe probably 3 concealers. There's not as many colors in concealer usually, so obviously there's going to be fewer concealer than foundation. I should tell you that my color range goes from very pale. This is about as pale as I get, which is actually in the medium ranges. I mean, this is a warm beige color, so that's actually in a medium range. But I get relatively dark. I have Native American ancestry in my heritage, and so I tan very well. So oddly enough, for being a redhead and light complected, I have a very broad spectrum of kind of a color range from the times when I'm pale to the times that I'm tan. And so I have a range of, you know, concealers and a range of foundations that go through that spectrum from the, you know, the color I would be when I'm the darkest to the colors that I would be when I'm the lightest. Okay, so I only keep one in my bag, and that's whichever one is the closest to my shade at the time. And you guys will remember this concealer from about this time last year, when I was at my lightest about this time last year. And so basically what I do is I just, as my color is changing, I just go through my products and use the one that matches my skin tone the best. But I don't go crazy buying foundations. I buy foundations that meet my color needs. I don't just buy foundations just because I want to try this kind, I want to try this kind, I want to try this kind. What I do is if I want to try a new kind, then when I run out of this one, when I'm going to buy a new, you know, I'm going to have to replace this color shade because I will need it again. So when I go to replace it, then that's an opportunity for me to try another kind. And because I have, you know, one color for each sort of spectrum that I need, I actually have, you know, no two bottles of my foundation are the same kind of foundation. So there's plenty of opportunity for me to try, you know, different types of foundation and different types of concealer, because I don't have to have any two alike if I don't want to. So the point with these is just use whatever color that you have that matches your skin tone, and when you run out of that color shade, if you want to try something new, then try something new. And because you're going to be, you know, lighter and darker, for some people that might only be 1 or 2 or 3 different colors. For some people that might be, you know, 7 or 8 colors. But be realistic about it. Don't go crazy. Don't use that as an excuse to have way too many foundations. You still have to be able to use them up. So we're not talking about from day to day changing my color. I'm talking about, you know, every 4 or 5 weeks I will start to notice that my color has changed, you know. And then when I'm tanning in the summer, I mean, I don't purposely tan, but, you know, I do get color in the summer. That can be a little more drastic because you might have one day where you're out in the sun and you get really dark for a day or two, and then, you know, 3 or 4 days later it's kind of faded. So I tend to change my color quicker during the summertime where I have that variation. But as the sun sort of fades away, that color change slows down quite a bit. So don't use that as an excuse to have a bunch of different kinds that really, when you start to really swatch them, are going to end up being, you know, very similar in shade anyway. Be realistic about it. If you have more than 4 or 5, you probably have too many. For most people, I'm an unusual case. For most people, you know, 2 or 3 is more realistic. So anyway, my foundation and concealer, I just have one, and it's whatever I have that matches my skin tone the best. When they run out, I will replace that color. Okay, let's see. Next, I usually use my bronzer. I only keep one bronzer right now in my kit, and the reason that I'm doing that, I do have other bronzers, and I do use them. I do change them up color-wise, but this particular bronzer I've really been focusing on. I've had it for a really long time, and it's very pigmented. It's a very highly pigmented product, and so you don't need a lot, no matter, you know, what my shade range would be. I just don't need a lot, and so it's a product that, I mean, it will just by nature take a very, very, very long time to use up for me. And so this is the one that I use most of the time, just because you know, I already know that it is going to take forever if I reapply it all day long to use up. So I do focus highly on this one. But I do have other ones that I use, and I tend to rotate through those based on color match, what's the best color match. They're kind of the same as my foundations. You know, I have a little bit of a range from, you know, lighter to darker, and I just use the one that's the best color match. And I don't buy more in that color range until that, you know, until that specific color is gone. then I replace it. I don't need 2 or 3 of the exact same color shade. So those are ones that I will use those on my fancy days, and I just don't carry them with me. And I tend to play around with those at the same times when I'm playing around with my eyeshadow colors on my fancy day that I actually keep in my storage container. So don't follow a strict fancy day, lazy day routine. Really, right now I'm just really focused on the lazy day products in trying to use it up the majority of the time, and then the other colors that I have I play around with, but I won't be replacing, I won't buy another bronzer when I have one exactly the same color, and my color range right now is complete. There aren't any color shades that I'm missing that I would wear, so it's really about just replacing the color when you need more of that specific color. Most people's color range is not going to be as broad as mine with that either, so keep that in mind. Okay, next would be primers, eye primers. I don't buy eye primers a lot. I have a few different kinds. I think I have maybe two different kinds, and one of those kinds has 2 different color ranges. So I mix those up based on what is the best color match for me at the time, because one of them basically has, you know, lighter color shade and darker color shade, and then this one, you guys know about the Urban Decay, this one is a specific color. I've actually been using this one most often because I like it least, and so I need to focus on using that one up, because this is a product that I could just kind of chuck to the side just because I don't like it as much. And so this is really, I don't call it my lazy day product because I actually right now I'm using it on my fancy days, but this is the one that I need to focus on making sure that I'm using it up. And I keep the other 2 in my storage with my other eyeshadows, so that as I'm playing around with different colors and different palettes and doing a different look, you know, I pick the one that I need for that particular situation. And eye primer I don't use every day. I only use eye primer when I'm using a cream eyeshadow. I just don't need it. If I were using a specific eyeshadow that I knew was not very pigmented and I knew the primer would help that, then I would use it in that situation. But I'm not really a proponent of saying that eye primer really helps to make your eyeshadow color pop. I think some color bases can more than a primer. So I just don't use primer that way, you know, 99.9% of the time. It's a very rare case that I would. So anyway, this is the one that I'm keeping in my makeup bag because it's the one that I'm using with my cream shadows that I've been using lately on my fancy days. And this is the one I want to use up because I don't like it as much. The other 2 I use regularly anyway because I'm attracted to them, so that's not a problem. I get through them easily. Okay, eyeshadows. Let's see. Let me just show you a couple. Like I said, I have a full range of eyeshadow colors, and on my fancy days, actually on my lazy days too, I play around with all of those. But I do have a every other day routine, lazy day, fancy day. And my lazy day eyeshadow right now is the e.l.f. Brightening Eye Color Quad in Luxe. You guys have seen me use this a million times. You've seen me do some tutorials with it, all kinds of things. And this is one that I've had the longest, and this is the one that I'm focusing on using up. And so it doesn't mean I don't like it, it just means that I've had it for a while and I need to be focused on using it up. And so I use this on my lazy days. I have to use this on my lazy days, and then I can add additional other colors to it. I can still play around on my lazy days, but I have to have this on regardless of what other colors I put on. Then on my fancy days, if I want to use this again, I can. If I want to use this on my fancy day with other shadows, I can. But the point is, on my fancy days, because eyeshadows is one of those products that it can be easy to start to really hoard and get out of control with, because there's so many colors and so many different types, and there's mineral, and there's you know, pigments, and there's press shadows, and there's bake shadows, and there's, you know, so many finishes and so many different packaging and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the products, kind of like lip gloss or lipstick, that it's really easy to get way out of control with. So products that I am, you know, that I've purchased recently new, when I know I don't really need more products, I've got full color range and I've got everything that I need, I carry around in my makeup bag to make sure that I'm using them. So I would use them on my fancy day. So, you know, you guys will remember when I bought these. Here's one of the Bare Minerals that I bought. Here's the Mark cream shadows that I bought, which is why I'm using the eye primer, because I've been using the cream shadow. And so I use these on my fancy days. And I can still use this, but I have to use, you know, my new stuff too. But my fancy days, I can really play around. I can use the mini shadows. I can play around on either day. You know, there's not restriction to what, you know, it's not like I only can wear this and that's it. I just have to wear this on my lazy day, and then I can add to it whatever I want. If I want to add blue to it, if I want to add green to it, if I want to make it a smoky eye, whatever I want to do, I can do. I just have to use this on my lazy day. And then kind of the same thing on my fancy days. I'm making a point to make sure I'm using these and make sure that I didn't just buy them and then sit them in a drawer and not do anything with them. If I'm going to buy them, I need to use them. So I have these in front of me all the time to remind me. I don't just get to look at them and go, oh, aren't they pretty? I do actually need to put them into use. So I keep them in my makeup bag. But I can still sit in front of my, you know, shadow drawer and play around with other colors as well. I'm just purposely working on making sure I'm using things up and not just sitting them in a drawer and then they sit there and get wasted. Okay. Let's see. Eyeliner. Okay, my eyeliner routine is, it's a little, it does follow my fancy day, lazy day. Here's basically what I keep. I always keep liquid liners. I always have a black and I always have a brown in my makeup bag. And I always keep a pencil liner, and I always keep, you know, a brown and either, you know, gray or black, something in the black family. This one happens to be like a charcoal gray. And then sometimes I will keep like a colored eyeliner pencil that is maybe older that I need to focus on using up. Sometimes I'll keep that in my makeup bag to remind me to use it often. Pretty much what I do follow lazy day, fancy day to some extent, because usually on my lazy day, that's a day where I kind of give myself a little bit of a break, and I'll tend to use pencil liners versus liquid liners. I'm more inclined on a lazy day to do more natural kind of looks. You don't have to do that, but that's just kind of what I do. So that's a day for me to work on using up my, you know, using my pencil liners. And then on my fancy days, I'm more inclined to happen to be doing a look that I would be more likely to use a liquid liner with. So I tend to use these more often on my fancy days. Here's kind of the deal. I always keep, you know, one of each color in liquid and one of each color in pencil, and then usually like one color. I don't happen to have one colored liner with me today. I keep that in with my eyeshadows and things, and so when I'm playing around, I'm using them. But the reason I do that is because I usually pick colors based on the look that I'm going for, and most of the time I use browns because I'm fair complected, I have red hair, and plain and simple, if you have blonde hair, sandy blonde hair, a lighter brown hair, black eyeliner and black mascara is too dark for you in the majority of cases. And it doesn't look natural, and it stands out when you wear it no matter what. I don't care how much you like it. We all like some things sometimes that just don't look natural on us. So the reality is that for me, I need to wear browns more often than black. So I use these two more often than I use these two. But there are days where I do, if my eyeshadow is like, if the focus is like navy blue or grays or blacks, if I'm using those colors and either doing like a smoky eye with those colors, or even if I'm just doing kind of a V with, you know, the darker colors in the crease, if it's more of a black look or a navy blue look, then I use the darker liners and mascaras to go with it, because the brown just wouldn't show up with those darker colors in most cases. So it makes more sense in that situation. But the majority of the time, most colored shadows, all neutral looks on me, I shouldn't be wearing anything but browns. But I keep both just in case, and then I have some color liners that I play with whenever I feel like it too. Okay. Mascaras, kind of similar to the eyeliners. I do sort of follow a Fancy Day Lazy Day routine with them, just to make sure that I'm using them all. But here's my basic rule. I have one brown mascara, and I have one black mascara, and then I have some colored mascaras. I have 4 of those. Most of the time I use the brown because black does not look natural on me. And so unless I'm doing a dark eye, like I said before, where I would use the dark liner, I don't need the super dark mascara. So I wear browns more often than black, but I keep one of each. There is no reason for me to have any more than one of each color open, ever. Mascara is not designed to be, you know, to last for a long time. You know, the companies that produce it are counting on you guys following the 3-month rule, which I don't follow. I don't follow the 3-month rule, but they're banking on it. They don't want their mascaras to last longer than that, because they want you to be kind of forced to have to continue to put money into their industry, right? They want you to have to buy it over and over again. Now, I don't follow the 3-month rule. I will use a mascara until it is used up, until it's, you know, it has dried up and I can't use it, or until I've literally used it up, there's no product left in it. Or if I were to have the case where something would happen where it would go bad, or, you know, get funky for some reason, obviously I would get rid of it. I've never had that happen though. And usually with regular wear, you know, I go through it. I mean, it's not a whole lot longer than 3 months anyway, but I don't throw it away just because I've been told that you're supposed to. I use my common sense in getting rid of it, but I also use the product up. I'm not in the business to be wasting money. I'm in the business to make money, right? So I never have more than one open. There just isn't a need to. I'm also very careful about how I store my mascaras and things. I don't like double dip, so to speak, my mascaras. Like, I don't apply mascara in the morning and then go back and apply some more later in the afternoon, because I'm contaminating my tube and I know it. You know, I've spent 3, 4, 5 hours in the environment. There's particles starting to, you know, grow and adhere to my lashes, and then I'm taking the wand and going over that and then stuffing it in. No, I don't do that kind of thing. You know, I put it on in the morning and that's it. And then if I'm going to redo my makeup, if it's going to have to do with mascara, I've washed my face and I'm starting fresh. So I have one of each, and then I have a couple colors, and these colors, none of these colors are the same. They're all different. So here's what I do. There's not as much opportunity to wear, you know, colored mascaras. They kind of have a place and a time, and they kind of have, you know, they might not be suitable for all situations. I mean, these aren't super, like, none of these are like a neon blue or anything. So I could really get away with all of these colors regardless of the situation. But, you know, if your blue mascara is neon blue, you shouldn't be wearing it to the office. You know, in a professional setting where you should be wearing a suit, that kind of thing. So there's a time and place for them. And so what I do is, these are actually my Lazy Day mascaras, because I know there's not as much opportunity to use them, and because I also know I have a lot of them, that, you know, which means just in using them in general, because I have a lot of them, I'm not going to get a chance to use them as often if I'm really using all of them. So because of those reasons, I've made these my lazy day. So I focus on making sure I'm using these responsibly on my lazy days, and then and then my fancy days, I'm more inclined to use just regular brown or black. But the main rule about mascara is never have more than one tube of the exact same color open. Period. I wouldn't even really own them if you can help it, because they will get old and dry out just sitting in the tube, even if they've never been opened. So if you want to try a new kind, then when you use it up, if I want to try a new kind, then when I use up my black, I will try that new kind in black, and I will use it until it's gone. And if I find out I didn't like it, then I can go back to using this, or I can try something new when it's gone. But mascara you have to be a little bit more responsible with than some of the other things. It's much easier to contaminate it, and it's also much easier to have it be a complete and total waste. So be smart about your mascaras. Okay, my brows. I have a fancy day, lazy day routine with my brows. This is my lazy day product. This is one that I've had from Avon. I've had it a long time. And you guys have seen it before. It's a powder. It's a brow powder. Because this is my oldest product, this is the one that I am focused on using because I've had it the longest, and so I use it on my lazy days all the time, which is every other day. And then you guys saw that I recently purchased the Mark Brow Factor, the clear brow gel. And so since I bought it, I need to use it, so I'm using this one on my fancy days. And so I just, trade back and forth for the most part. And remember, when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about this is my personal makeup. This is not, I'm not talking about on a job, being on a job, and I'm not talking about, if I, this is completely separate from the work aspect. So I'm going to talk to you guys about my work aspect. Remember I said at the very end, because that is totally different. This is just my personal use makeup. The work aspect, you have creativity that has to be involved with that. So make sure you remember that those two things are separate, and I will be talking about that separately. Okay. Let's see, what would be next? Blush would be next. Okay, you guys have seen this is my lazy day product. This is the Mary Kay Orchid that I've had for a long time and that I focus on using up. I use this on my lazy days, which is every other day. And then you guys saw recently that I purchased the Chi Wet n Wild colors, and so I've been keeping these in my makeup bag. I have other blushes than the ones you see here that I do play around with, particularly on my fancy days mostly, but even on my lazy days, because I can still layer. Just because I wear this doesn't mean it's the only one that I can use. I can layer different products with it. So but these are my newest products, and so I need to remember that I need to use them. I just can't just set them in the drawer and say, ooh, aren't those pretty? I still need to use them. So these are both in my makeup bag, and I use them on my fancy days. Okay, highlighter. You guys have seen this plenty of times. This is the Blush Crush Baked Blush in Honeymoon from Hard Candy. This is my lazy day highlighter. It is the one I've had the longest, so it's the one I focus on using the most, and I use it on my lazy days, which is every other day. And then this makes a repeat performance because I use the color corrector, and I can use this concealer if I wanted to, but this has a highlighter on it as well. And so in order to take advantage of using the highlighter, I use this pink highlighter on my fancy days. So lazy day product, fancy day product. I have other highlighters that I can play with and other ones that I can layer on either day. I just have to use this one on my lazy day. Okay. Oh, I have one more mascara. Forgot about this one. This is a glitter mascara. So anyway, I only use this in a place where it would be suitable to put glitter mascara on my eyes, which is usually like at a dance club. So that gets used when I go out, and that's about it. Okay, lip liners. I have two that I keep, a lazy day and a fancy day, and then I have a couple others that are like colored lip liners, and I will use those when they're an exact match for lipstick, or if I'm using them as a lipstick, you know, if I'm doing the color all over and then maybe just putting a gloss over it. But for the most part, the majority of my lip liners are, you'll see these are pretty much the exact same color, and that is because they are, well, I have lipstick on, but they're pretty much an exact color match for my natural lip color, which makes them nude for me. And so this Mary Kay one, the Primrose, is the one that I've had the longest. So this is my Lazy Day product. This is the one that I'm, you know, focused on being responsible about using up. And then this is my newer one, which is the Avon Color Trend. And this one is in natural. So this is my Fancy Day one. So I just, every other day, for the most part, I'll use them. And the color ones, like I said, I throw those in sometimes on my fancy days if I'm wearing, you know, if they're an exact color match for a lipstick that I'm going to use on my fancy day. Okay, lipsticks. The lipsticks, this is actually a really good example of how Lazy Day does not mean that it's a product you don't like. Sometimes a fancy day product is a product you don't like, but you still have to use it. So I have a Lazy Day lipstick and then Fancy Day lipsticks. Okay, so this, my Lazy Day lipstick is, this is the Smooth Minerals lipstick in Apricot Glow. This is from Avon. And this is my all-time favorite lipstick of all lipsticks that I've ever used, and I'm 36, so it's a lot of lipsticks. This is my all-time favorite lipstick, but it's also the one that I've had the longest, so that's why it's my Lazy Day. It's not my Lazy Day because I don't like it. It's my Lazy Day because I've had it the longest, and so I use it every other day to make sure that I will use it up before it goes bad or dries up. And then my Fancy Day lipsticks that I'm keeping in my makeup bag are my newest lipsticks. You guys just saw a haul on these. This is the Plum Gorgeous and the Red Kiss and the Bronze Shimmer that I just recently bought. These are my newest ones, so I keep them in my bag, and basically on my fancy day I just kind of, you know, mix and match them. I can layer. I have other lipsticks, you know, in other color ranges too that I will play around with on my fancy days. And sometimes on my Lazy Day, sometimes I'll layer them with the Apricot Glow. The only point is that the Apricot Glow I have to use every other day, and that these I need to be using as well. I can't just stick them in a drawer and forget about them, or just buy them to look at them and go, oh gosh, that's such a pretty color, and then stick it back. It's not what makeup is for. It's to be used. So make sure you're using it. And I think that's it. I'm a little bit froggy today. I don't know what the deal is with that. So I hope I explained that well enough. I was trying to kind of rush through to get through everything because I know this is a long video. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Or if you would like for me to go into more detail about any one of those products, I will. Let me know that as well. And remember, this isn't all of my makeup. This is just me. This is what I keep in here is what I'm making a conscious effort of making sure that I'm using because I need to, because I paid for it. So some of them it's because I've had them the longest, and some of them it's because I just bought them, and whether I ended up liking them or not, I still have to use them, so I'm focusing on them as well. And then I have, you know, I do still have some variety that I can still play with and be creative with, as creative as I want to be, regardless of which day it is. As long as I'm using my Lazy Day products on my Lazy Day, I'm good to go. And my Lazy Days are often, which is, for me, it's every other day, I'm good to go. And as long as I'm using my Fancy Day products and not just looking at them and thinking they're pretty, then I'm being responsible. So I'm still using products up. I'm never, my collection is not continually growing exponentially. I have an amount and I pretty much either maintain it or shrink it. So, and it's a usable amount. It's not more than I can use up as one person. So, there you have it. I hope you guys are having a good week, and I still have a few more products to go, so keep watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Okay, so I don't know what they're doing, but they're getting in trouble. So there's plenty of opportunity for me to play around with different kinds of foundations. Simba, go lay down. Sorry.